What's up, everybody? Today I'm diving into a slick little forgotten action flick about an assistant district attorney with a perfect family and nothing but a bright future ahead of him. But his next case is going to be settled out of court when he's accused of murder, and the only person who knows of his innocence is the killer who framed him. I'm of course talking about the 1991 hidden gem Ricochet, starring Denzel Washington and a truly demented John Lithgow. Now, the early 90s was a very busy time for action movies. The decade would see really a plethora of action flicks featuring more grounded, everyday heroes. Stars like Van Damme and Seagal and Snipes would gain a lot of traction among many others. And I mean, during this time in Hollywood, if you were in decent shape and handsome and had some charisma, you had a chance of stepping into the action genre. This brings us to a young Denzel Washington. Now, here in the present day, Washington is a top-tier, Oscar-winning actor that still does dabble in the action genre from time to time, and there is no doubt that his name these days naturally brings whatever film he's in a bit of legitimacy and gravitas and, of course, Oscar buzz. But that wasn't the case back in 1991. Now, at the time, Washington had already been in the business for some years already, doing mostly TV work. He gained some notoriety on the TV drama St. Elsewhere from 1982 to 1988, and after that series ended, I think he sort of tested the water, so to speak, in terms of the types of different roles that he wanted to take on, but he was still gaining some attention along the way. He earned a supporting actor nomination for his performance in Cry Freedom in 1987. His performance in the Civil War drama Glory in 1989 was outstanding as well, earning him an Oscar for supporting actor. However, in 1990, he paired with Bob Hoskins in the ill-conceived comedy Heart Condition. He also took the lead in Spike Lee's Mo Better Blues, and I certainly think his performance in 1992's Malcolm X, which did earn him a Best Actor nomination, would veer him more to the side of big league dramas going forward, because let's be honest, rarely is an action lead in a movie ever going to win an Academy Award for Best Actor.
I think this is a big one, Carlito. Got our own little Academy Award here, and I think it's going to be good. You ready?
Ricochet would be Washington's first real dabble with traditional action. Black action leads at the time were nearly non-existent. Wesley Snipes hadn't taken off yet, and Carl Weathers' Action Jackson a couple years prior failed to materialize into a franchise, and Denzel Washington fit the bill perfectly for the action hero prototype, so it was a common sense move. Here, Denzel Washington would pair with John Lithgow to deliver one of my favorite action movies from the era, and a true hidden gem on Washington's extensive resume. Ricochet is a simple tale of revenge, but how it explores this revenge and the brutal action and the all-in performances from Washington and Lithgow make this movie much better than it really had any right to be. The story overall is fine. It's not overly intricate or anything, but I think the style and just the sadistic ambition that's draped over the entire movie make it very easily engaging. It definitely does have a strong 80s genre vibe to it, and I think how it blends action movie tropes with those of a psychological thriller is pretty impressive. I think it sets the mood instantly with Alan Silvestri's suspenseful score. It's clearly nothing more than a slightly altered version of his Predator score, yet it works perfectly here to create an instantly sinister vibe for this gritty plot. We meet a young Nick Stiles. He's an everyman with a bright career future ahead of him and some solid on-the-court skills, and it isn't long before he crosses paths coincidentally with Earl Talbot Blake. The sequence on the fairgrounds is just absolutely comical and just so on the nose as Stiles strips down to save the day, sending Blake to prison, thus fueling the entire plot that's to come.
Stiles, you gonna hide behind that little door all day?
No.
Oh, don't put your uniform back on. You took it off for the psychopath. Keep it off for me.
And after smiling off a little bit of harmless sexual harassment, Stiles climbs up the career ladder, and the first act really is perfectly able to craft the motivation for Blake to want to destroy Stiles' life. We're seeing Stiles move to assistant district attorney while Blake is savagely killing Jesse the Body Ventura in a prison phone book fight. The stakes are elevated, and we get to see deeper into just the depravity of Blake through the fantastic performance from John Lithgow. you really can connect with and invest in the journey of Nick Styles because Washington is just so cool and suave in this role. You feel this guy is just prepared for anything life has to throw at him. He's just always in control. His range really does shine in many scenes, like the courtroom scenes, the ultimatum with Odessa and his gang. These are moments you almost forget it's an action movie, but as I said, almost, because Ricochet rarely lets its foot off the gas in terms of action, suspense, and just brutal violence overall. But hands down, Denzel Washington and John Lithgow are who truly do make this movie great. Both elevate their characters immensely. For Lithgow's Earl Talbot Blake, he's as sadistic as he is intelligent. Lithgow really leans into the insanity of the role, and he's just scene stealer with a collection of just delightfully just evil lines of dialogue. But above all, he's a true villain for Styles that can almost match him on nearly every level.
Oh, come on. You're not that soft. Come on, what's the matter with you? This is no fun. That's better.
Ricochet does a good job of building the anticipation, and when Blake escapes and the entire tone of the film shifts, it's fantastic. Blake gets the upper hand and strategically just dismantles Styles' life in the most merciless of ways. Styles suddenly has no control over his life as things just get worse and worse and worse for him. It almost seems like there's no way he's going to get out of it. And sure, there are some conveniences in the path of Blake's revenge to make it go off without a hitch, but I don't think there's anything that really gets in the way of being to sympathize with Styles and wanting to see how he's going to be able to get his life back by the time the movie ends. I think all of this gives Ricochet a fun, quick-moving pace with very energized performances and sturdy storytelling and just enough violent action. I mean, seeing Blake toy with Styles effectively ramps up the tension and the uneasiness. You can sense that Styles is reaching his breaking point, and when it all culminates, it does so in just a fantastic finale high up on the Watts Towers. It's a very unique and just one-of-a-kind closing. It's a highly rewarding closing to a thrilling story, and I think Washington and Lithgow they make the whole thing work. They throw themselves into these characters, and it's just great seeing them swinging around high in the air in a fight to the death, and just a classic late 80s, early 90s closing act for an action movie. And that's it for today, guys. That's my look back at 1991's Ricochet. It's definitely a product of its time, but it's also thrilling and adrenaline pumping and dramatic and highly engaging. And action movies these days just don't lean into the darkness like this one was able to do. So let me know your guys' thoughts on this movie down in the comments if you've seen it. If you haven't, I think it's still currently streaming on HBO Max, and it's certainly worth checking out. So until the next video, guys, thank you so much for watching. I truly do appreciate it, and I'll see you at the movies.
This is Jack Burton in the Pork Chop Express, and I'm talking to whoever's listening out there.
Flag of war. You gotta become war.
I suppose we have to register you as a lethal weapon.
You trying to say Jesus Christ can't hit a curveball?
Death of Earl Talbot Blake may signal the... Oh, Mr. Styles, any comments, please?
Yeah, news at 11? Nah,